What if I told you that the optimal way to restore your erections involves nothing to do with pills, surgeries, or expensive treatments, but rather something so fundamental, so everyday that you've overlooked it all your life? Gentlemen, here's the reality. The gap between a feeble, inconsistent erection and a robust, enduring one might boil down to just one thing: water. And if you're consuming it improperly, you could be gradually undermining your performance without even realizing it. I'm Dr. Laura. I'm a urologist, and over more than 30 years, I've committed my career to assisting men exactly like you, in reclaiming their assurance, their vitality, and their intimate health. I've witnessed firsthand how the tiniest, everyday routines, those that most guys disregard, can create the greatest impact on the way your body operates. And now for the odd twist. Every guy understands he requires water to survive, but scarcely any guy grasps that the manner in which you consume it directly affects your erections. It seems incredible, right? Yet the research is straightforward. The method you use for drinking water alters your blood circulation, your testosterone, and even your endurance. That's precisely why today I'm offering you a guarantee. If you adhere to what I'm going to explain, you can organically enhance your erections by as much as 93%. No medications, no gimmicks, simply water, employed in the proper manner. In just a short while, I'll disclose the 4 straightforward water consumption routines that the majority of guys have never even encountered. But as soon as you implement them, you'll sense the shift in your vitality, your assurance, and in the bedroom. Stick around with me because what you're on the verge of learning could alter everything. Prior to diving in, if you haven't yet, be sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you won't overlook another insight crafted to assist men beyond 60 in remaining robust, assured, and well. And I'd appreciate hearing from you. If this video proves useful, simply enter 1 in the comments. If it doesn't, enter 0 and tell me how I can assist you more effectively. Now, let's commence with the essential base. Why? Water counts more than you might imagine. Prior to discussing hormones or schedules, we need to grasp blood circulation first, since ultimately, an erection amounts to little more than a hydraulic process, and water serves as its prime fuel. Why water counts more than you might imagine? When I meet with men in my clinic, men in their 60s and 70s who gaze at me directly and softly admit that their erections no longer match what they once were, I frequently begin with a query that catches them off guard. How much water do you consume? And in what manner are you consuming it? Usually, they chuckle, as though I'm making a jest. They anticipate I'll discuss testosterone treatments or medications, not something so routine as water. But here's the fact. Your body consists of more than 60% water, and your penis follows the same rule. Each cell, each vessel, each nerve strand that enables you to feel desire, arousal, and capability relies on hydration. Consider an erection for its true nature, a hydraulic process. Blood surges into the penis's chambers. Pressure accumulates and rigidity forms. No blood circulation, no erection. Poor blood circulation, poor erection. And what forms the bulk of your blood? Water. When you stay hydrated, blood flows smoothly, lightly, and can travel swiftly and effectively via your vessels. It's akin to a pristine river streaming through an unobstructed valley. Your heart exerts less effort, your circulation flourishes, and oxygen reaches its destinations, including the precise tissues of your penis. But once you're dehydrated, the narrative shifts. Your blood turns denser, nearly viscous. It fails to glide effortlessly, and circulation lags. Your heart labors more intensely merely to perform the fundamental task of sustaining your life. And during those instances when you require that rush of blood, when your body demands a firm erection, it simply fails to provide. That's the moment men detect a change. Reduced rigidity, reduced endurance, and at times even the total lack of an erection. I've treated patients who attributed their issue to age or even dreaded that their manhood was waning, only to discover that their challenge was far simpler. They weren't consuming water regularly, or they were consuming it incorrectly. After they adjusted, their vitality rose, their erections grew firmer, and their assurance reemerged. And I hope you take this in not merely as clinical guidance, but as a heartfelt encouragement. You aren't damaged. Your body holds greater potential than you believe, but it requires the proper groundwork. So prior to pursuing elaborate therapies, prior to concluding it's simply age overtaking you, pose this to yourself. Is your blood genuinely circulating as it ought to? Because if water can reshape blood, and blood holds the secret to erections, then consuming water correctly might represent the most neglected remedy that men have long awaited. And as impactful as this proves, hydration influences beyond just circulation. It alters your hormones, your vitality, even your disposition. Let's delve into that now. The connection between hydration and testosterone. Among the initial points I convey to my patients is this: erections aren't solely about blood circulation. They involve hormones too. And the ruler among those hormones is testosterone. Lacking it, all shifts. Desire diminishes. Vitality vanishes. Disposition alters. And erections turn less reliable. I've observed numerous men in their 60s and 70s seated opposite me, pondering why they sense older than their actual years. And at times, the cause isn't age in itself, it's dehydration, subtly reducing their testosterone concentrations. Here's the mechanism. When your body maintains good hydration, all operates fluidly. Your organs, encompassing your liver and kidneys, handle hormones adeptly. Your brain communicates accurately. Your stress levels stay even, and your testosterone holds firm. But the instant your body turns dehydrated, it switches to preservation mode. It's similar to a lever being activated. Your body gains a single focus: sustain your life. That entails it directs its assets toward upholding blood pressure, controlling body heat, and safeguarding your core operations. Regrettably, your reproductive functions don't qualify. Even more concerning is the way dehydration elevates cortisol, your body's primary stress hormone. View cortisol and testosterone as positioned at opposing sides of a seesaw. As cortisol climbs, testosterone inevitably drops. I have observed this in men entering my clinic, anxious, weary, and isolated, only to learn they were not just dehydrated, but existing in perpetual cortisol excess. And how does diminished testosterone manifest? It manifests as unrelenting weariness, as apathy toward closeness, as a haze lingering over your thoughts. Certain men even portray it as resembling a mere outline of themselves. But here's the positive update. Hydration serves as a switch you can engage immediately. It's cost-free, it's accessible, and it can yield results quicker than you anticipate. When you consume water appropriately, you aid your body in reducing cortisol, evening out stress, and maintaining testosterone at concentrations that enable you to feel like your true self once more. I've witnessed men reclaim their motivation, their assurance, and their vitality merely by reinstating equilibrium via hydration. That demonstrates the true potency of this link. So, the next occasion you sense exhausted, irritable, or detached from closeness, don't merely attribute it to age. It might be your body subtly pleading for water, pleading for the opportunity to recalibrate its hormones. And if hydration can reinvigorate testosterone, what further can it reinvigorate? The response rests in your vitality and endurance. Let's examine how water transforms the sensations you experience each and every day. Vitality, weariness, and erections. When I face men in their 60s or 70s across from me, I frequently encounter the identical phrases, "Doctor, I just feel so exhausted." Once evening arrives, I lack the power, much less the desire for closeness. Numerous of them assume it's purely the burden of years weighing upon them. But I invariably pose a basic query. Are you properly hydrated? Because what seems like the toll of age could truly be dehydration, siphoning off your liveliness. Even a slight depletion of water, merely 1 or 2% of your body mass, can render you weary, lightheaded, or battling to concentrate. Picture your body as an engine operating sans sufficient lubricant. The components begin to churn, output weakens, and ultimately, all decelerates. That's precisely the effect dehydration exerts within you. And when you're operating depleted, when your cells are clamoring for moisture, your body possesses no vitality remaining to power passion or output. It will invariably favor preservation foremost, desire afterward. I've encountered men who assumed they were forfeiting their manhood, who convinced themselves their fire was extinguished permanently, only to uncover their bodies were urgently parched. Once they commenced hydrating correctly, consuming water in gradual sips across the day rather than downing it in rushes, they detected something noteworthy. Their afternoons seemed less burdensome, their vitality steadier, their thoughts sharper, and come nighttime, when opportunity arose, their body genuinely possessed the power and endurance to react. It wasn't some wonder drug. It was merely re-establishing the equilibrium that nature designed. Weariness doesn't merely prevent you from relishing closeness. It erodes your assurance. It prompts you to doubt yourself, to question your capacity to deliver. It leads you to withdraw from occasions you formerly cherished. And the harsh fact is this: numerous men fault their years, when actually the issue is as straightforward as failing to supply their body sufficient water to operate. I inform my patients that once you sense depleted, it's not merely your vitality that falters, it's your essence. You start to sense less like your authentic self, less vibrant. But here's the aspect that thrills me greatest. When you start to hydrate regularly and appropriately, your body reacts swiftly, your vitality ascends, your weariness dissipates, and your assurance commences to reappear. And as that occurs, closeness ceases to seem like an obligation. It reverts to seeming like delight once more. So, if hydration can reinvigorate vitality and dispel the dense mist of weariness, what occurs when we consider the actual method you're employing to consume water? Because, trust me, the majority of men execute it entirely incorrectly, and that basic error could be exacting a toll on their output. The incorrect method to consume water. Across the years, I've had innumerable men enter my clinic and confidently declare to me, "Doctor, I consume ample water, so hydration can't possibly be my issue." They lean back assuredly, believing they've already addressed that element. But as I probe further, I frequently uncover that it's not the volume of water they consume that's impeding them. It's the approach they take to consuming it. And this, sir, ranks among the most neglected realities regarding your well-being. You can consume water daily and remain dehydrated in the areas that count most. I recall one patient especially. He was 71, astute, robust in various respects, and irritated past expression. He informed me he would swig a whole bottle of chilled water 2 or 3 times daily, and still he sensed weary, lethargic, and discontent with his output in the bedroom. When I requested he alter nothing aside from his consumption method, sipping gradually, distributing it evenly, opting for ambient temperature water over freezing cold, he came back weeks afterward, nearly astonished. His statement was direct. "Doctor, I had no idea it could create such a substantial impact, but it truly did. Here's the reason. When you swig water rapidly, your body fails to assimilate it effectively. A large portion hastens through your framework, prompting you to dash to the restroom rather than nourishing your cells. Consuming substantial volumes immediately prior to bedtime merely disrupts your rest, which diminishes testosterone and erodes your output. And consuming frosty water may appear invigorating, but it compels your body to expend vitality heating it, diverting assets from assimilation and circulation. These minor errors accumulate, rendering men weary, distended, or worse, still dehydrated even after consuming throughout the entire day. It's not your doing if you've engaged in this. Most men have never learned that water, akin to medication, possesses a correct approach and an incorrect one. But once you perceive it distinctly, it becomes logical. Your body isn't built to manage abrupt deluges of water simultaneously. It's built for consistent, deliberate hydration that bolsters each organ, each hormone, and indeed, each erection. So the fact boils down to simply consuming additional water isn't sufficient. You must consume it in a fashion that permits your body to genuinely utilize it. And when you achieve that, the transformation can prove remarkable. Which leads me to the core essence of this whole discussion, the routines that demonstrate the correct approach to consuming water. The ones most men have never encountered but urgently require to understand. The correct approach to consuming water for erections. Following years of hearing men recount their challenges, I can assure you this: the issue seldom lies in their failure to consume water. The genuine concern is that nobody ever instructed them on the proper method to execute it. And yes, a proper method exists. The approach you employ for consuming water can signify the divide between sensing lethargic and depleted, or sensing invigorated, equilibrated, and prepared when the occasion demands. It may appear overly elementary to signify anything, but I've witnessed lives transform when men modify merely a handful of minor routines. The initial item I instruct my patients involves sipping gradually. Rather than swigging, your body can assimilate only a modest amount of water at once. And when you down a complete glass in moments, the bulk of it evades the mechanism that genuinely powers your cells. Sipping consistently across the day maintains your blood at the ideal thickness, which ensures circulation stays fluid and erections turn more dependable. It's not about inundating your body. It's about sustaining it. Subsequently, I suggest seating while consuming. It may appear trivial, but your body reacts distinctly when you remain composed and reposed. Seating permits assimilation to function superiorly and circulation to adjust more adeptly, encompassing the sensitive blood vessels in the pelvic area. Numerous men chuckle when I mention this, but once they attempt it, they frequently observe their abdomen feels less weighted and their body more at ease. Then comes an age-old custom that contemporary research is starting to comprehend, allowing the water to blend with saliva prior to gulping. Take a sip. Retain it in your mouth. Permit it to linger briefly. Your saliva carries an alkaline quality, brimming with enzymes that ready your body for uptake. I've had senior men experiment with this and report they sense less distended and more revitalized afterward, as though their body were expressing thank you. And lastly, heed the temperature. Frosty water may seem revitalizing, but it obliges your body to labor more strenuously, impeding assimilation and siphoning vitality. Ambient temperature or lukewarm water, conversely, fosters fluid circulation and nutrient uptake. It seems milder because it is milder and your body can employ it more efficiently. These modest routines may appear mundane, but united, they generate substantial transformation. They bolster your blood, your hormones, your vitality, and they reinstate robustness where it counts most. But scheduling holds equal weight to method, and most men mishandle this element. So let's address when to consume water to genuinely safeguard your intimate health. Scheduling counts. Across the years, I've discovered that men frequently presume hydration concerns solely quantity. They believe, provided they're obtaining sufficient water, their bodies will react. But the reality is, the timing of your water consumption proves equally vital as the volume you consume. Scheduling can either harmonize with your body's innate cadence or utterly derail it, and I've observed both results innumerable times in my work. Consider the evening, for instance. Numerous men will ingest substantial quantities of water directly before retiring, believing they're benefiting themselves. But what ensues? They awaken 2 or 3 instances overnight to visit the bathroom. Rest becomes interrupted, and they sense drained the following morning. What they overlook is that those nocturnal disruptions deprive them of the profound renewing rest where testosterone naturally emerges. And sans consistent testosterone, their vitality, disposition, and intimate health all start to falter. It's a minor error, but across time it accumulates into a notable erosion of liveliness. Another prevalent blunder involves consuming excessive water right after repasts. Your stomach depends on potent acid to dismantle food, and when you weaken that acid with hefty swallows of water, assimilation lags. I've had men describe to me they sense weighted, inflated, and fatigued post-meal, and upon closer inspection, the routine of consuming at improper moments often served as the origin. By merely delaying 30 minutes post-repast, their assimilation enhanced, their vitality evened out, and they ceased to haul that lethargic sensation into the evening. Even nourishing items like watermelon or oranges, which brim with water inherently, can generate issues if you layer water atop them. Your body can manage only so much fluid simultaneously, and the outcome can involve subpar uptake, unease, and squandered nutrients. Mastering the art of granting your body interval and equilibrium ranks among the most neglected facets of hydration. The prime moments to consume water occur when your body naturally requests it. First thing upon rising to revitalize circulation, mid-morning to hold concentration, and mid-afternoon when vitality typically wanes. By synchronizing with these cadences, you maintain your framework stable and prepared rather than overloaded and misaligned. Scheduling truly governs all. And once you honor your body's cadence, hydration ceases to be a task and commences to serve as an instrument for robustness, vitality, and closeness. But naturally, that prompts the subsequent major inquiry every man poses to me. What volume of water genuinely suffices? The response might astonish you. What volume suffices? Among the most frequent inquiries men direct at me involves, Doctor, simply inform me what volume of water I truly require daily. And it's a valid inquiry, because across years we've endured a barrage of varied responses. 8 glasses, half your body mass in ounces, consume until thirst abates. The reality is, your body doesn't function via a universal equation. Nonetheless, reliable directives exist that can guide most men appropriately. And when you master interpreting your body's cues, you'll discern if you're on target. In my practice spanning years, I determined that most men past 60 flourish on roughly 2.5 to 3 liters of water each day. That typically equates to about 10 to 12 glasses dispersed across the day. But here's the crucial element. Your personal requirements hinge on your build, your exertion level, and even the weather in your locale. A man in Arizona beneath summer rays will require more than a man in Minnesota amid winter. Your body perpetually emits indicators. You simply must learn to decipher them. Among the easiest and most dependable markers is the hue of your urine. If it appears a light yellow, you're precisely where you belong. If it darkens, your body is signaling urgently and seeking water. If it stays utterly transparent constantly, you might actually be over-consuming, expelling electrolytes and taxing your kidneys. It's not solely about infusing water. It's about equilibrium. And that equilibrium varies from individual to individual. I recall an elderly fellow who once boasted of consuming gallons of water daily. He assumed greater quantities always proved superior, but he consulted me lamenting spasms, weariness, and constant restroom visits that wrecked his rest. When we modified his consumption to a more balanced, consistent degree, the issues vanished. He grasped his body wasn't grateful for excess hydration. It was laboring to endure. So, what volume suffices? Sufficient to maintain your vitality, even your urine light yellow, and your body operating fluidly. It's less about pursuing a specific figure and more about fostering regularity. Mild, unwavering hydration keeps your blood sufficiently fluid to circulate, your hormones equilibrated, and your body primed for closeness when required. And here's the direction I aim to guide you toward next. Even should you consume the correct volume at the correct intervals, it's innate to sense discouraged when output falls short of its former level. That's why encouragement holds as much weight as research. Permit me to demonstrate why your narrative persists and why ample optimism lies ahead. Heartfelt encouragement. I wish to healthier and address you not solely as a physician, but as one who has conferred with thousands of men who sensed precisely as you might at present. Many of my patients approach me bearing a burdened gaze in their eyes. They confide they no longer sense like their former selves. They murmur about how their erections lack former strength, how their vitality wanes, and how closeness has evolved into a source of tension rather than delight. Some even admit they've ceased attempting entirely, persuaded that years have stripped something irrecoverable. I can affirm I've encountered these phrases countless times, and each time I meet a man's gaze and recall for him one reality. You aren't flawed. Your body possesses far greater capacity than you perceive. Even at 60, 70, or further along, I've observed men who assumed their prime eras lay in the past reclaim vitality, fervor, and assurance they never anticipated reclaiming. And it transpired not via a wonder drug or a concealed additive. It transpired because they adopted straightforward, unwavering selections that rebalanced their bodies. Hydration frequently marked the initial phase, but what truly signified was their conviction that alteration remained feasible. I recognize how straightforward it proves to juxtapose yourself against the man you formerly embodied. Perhaps you recall the vitality of your 30s or the assurance of your 40s. And now, you perceive that divide more acutely than ever. But permit me to reassure you, that divide can narrow. Your body may have matured, but it still reacts to nurturing, to focus, and to